Good morning. So today we are going to cook our April Harvest of the Month recipe. It's the asparagus and green peas month, so we're going to be making sauteed asparagus and green peas. So the first thing that we want to do is we'll review some of the ingredients that we have. So we're going to be working with the recipe that calls for oil or butter, so we're going to use some vegetable oil, which we have right here. We're going to mince up some shallots. You can also use white onions. Shallots can be a little expensive sometimes and they're not always available. We're going to use asparagus. So our lovely assistant Maddie chopped up the first part of it, and then we'll do a demo of it as well. And then we're going to use a cup of peas. You can either use fresh peas or frozen peas depending on when you're making it. And then salt and pepper, and then we'll have a tablespoon of honey that's going to go in to just give it a little bit of sweetness. So the first thing that we're going to do is just get our shallot chopped. So shallots are kind of funny looking. They're somewhere between garlic and onion. So if you've never cut a shallot before, we're going to I like to cut off the ends and then just peel it and get all the skin off. You want to get down to where it's purple. Sometimes they can just be a little tricky, but it'll come off eventually. And for this recipe, we're not going to use the whole shallot, I don't think. We just need about 1/4 cup. So I like to kind of just slice them a little. Stack them up, and that will help chop them down. And we want them minced, so we're going to get them definitely smaller than this. They do stink like onions, so if you are working with kids and they're going to help you cook this, you may just want to talk about some ways that they can prevent their eyes from burning. So we've seen kids where they wear goggles, like swimming goggles, or where you can, I'm trying to think, maybe they have like safety glasses at a school. I find that if I wear contacts, so my contacts kind of help mess with that a little bit. But I wouldn't, there's like, tricks with matches and stuff. I wouldn't do that in a school with kids. So just FYI. Okay, so I think half of that shallot was plenty. And then we're going to get our pan on with a little bit of oil in it. So the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of oil. So I have 2 tablespoons in here, but our pan is a little small, so I'm just going to use a little. And I'm just going to not cook a full portion of everything the first round. So you'll just see partial portions. So we'll let that heat up a minute just while we Now, service members, if you did want to save time, you could probably put this in your garlic press also, and that would get it pretty minced up. But if you want more pieces of onions, then I wouldn't use that, but that's an option. Okay. So we're just going to give those, it says about 4 to 5 minutes until they're translucent. So just till they start losing a little bit of their cover and they'll look a little clear. we're gonna get our asparagus chopped up. So Maddie did most of it, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page with how the asparagus should look. This is what they'll look like when they're there. So asparagus will naturally break off where they start to get like woody at the bottom, so they're a little more fibrous and tough. So if you just kind of hold it, it'll snap. So you can do that for all of your asparagus. You can also just cut off the bottoms if it's a little bit quicker or easier, but this is a really good job for kids, so if you're doing some of the prep work with any of your students, they can do it. And then we're going to cut them, it says, into 1/2-inch pieces. So just pretty small. You can cut them on an angle if you want them to look a little nicer. You can cut them straight, whatever is easy. And you can cut them smaller if you want, they are going to go for little kids or for the service members, since they have to fit in your little cup. Okay, so we're going to put our asparagus in. So we'll put some of the stuff that we cut, and then a little bit more of these. Leave room for our peas, give them a good stir, and then we're also going to add in our salt and pepper. So just a little bit, not too much. And we're going to give these about 5 minutes so that they start to get a little bit cooked. Asparagus are great raw, so if you do undercook them, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. I would worry more about overcooking them, because you don't want them to get like really mushy. You want them to still kind of have that snap to them when the kids bite into them. So peas are going to come either in a shell, and if they are in a shell, if they're shelling peas, you're going to have to take that shell off of them. So you want to make sure they do get down to looking like this. And they're not going to have, like the pods and the shells that they come in. You also want to make sure that the shallots don't burn while you're cooking these, so if you have to turn your heat down a little bit lower. If you do a big stock pot of them and you want them to go a little quicker, you can probably just throw in like a tablespoon or 2 of water in the bottom and put the lid on for a minute or 2, and let them steam first and then go through. But you may lose a little bit of your crisp tenderness here. Okay, so ours are just about ready. We are going to now be on step 5, and we're going to add the peas and the honey. So I'm not going to put in all the peas because our pot's not big enough, but we'll put in about half. And we have a tablespoon of honey here, so I'll put in also a little bit less than that, but and that'll just help sweeten it up. And then we're just going to stir them. So you want to make sure that the peas get fully cooked if they are frozen. And if they're fresh, the same thing with the asparagus. They can be eaten uncooked, but the kids will probably like them a little better if they're cooked. So make sure that that's done. And make sure that the honey gets distributed. I would suggest doing this in your stock pot, because I don't know if you guys can see, but I've definitely lost a few soldiers here, so you'll have a little bit more room if you do use your stock pot. I'm going to put a little bit more pepper in here, and a little bit more salt, but definitely give it a taste. If you feel like it needs a little more of any of those, if you feel like it needs a little bit more honey, or you want to put a little bit more shallots in there, you definitely can. So you'll know it's done when you taste it. So I would just pull out a piece and just, excuse me. think it's all that pepper. And just taste them and see if they're done. Okay, so these are good. So you can turn your heat off. And then for the service members, we're gonna make sure that they can, you just wanna put them in your serving cup. So, you know, make sure every kid gets at least a piece or two of asparagus and a couple peas and stuff. But, you know, you can use your best judgment with these. But the good portion's probably something like that. So that's it. So if you have questions, you can always email me, let me know. But otherwise, hope you have fun with your April Harvest of the Month taste test. Bye.